Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. We got 80 questions based on the Old Testament today. Let's get started. 1. On what day did God create man? 1, 3, 4, or 6? Day 6. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. 2. Where did God confuse people's languages? Tower of Babel, Tower of Zion, Bethel, or Mount Moriah? Tower of Babel, Genesis 11:9. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. 3. Which prophet did God command to lay on his side for 390 days? Obadiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, or Jonah? Ezekiel 4:4. Then lie on your left side and put the sin of the house of Israel upon yourself. You are to bear their sin for the number of days you lie on your side. 4. Who killed 1,000 Philistines with the jaw of a donkey? Samson, Joshua, Enosh, or Seth? Samson, Judges 15:15. Finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. 5. Where was Lot living after he left Abraham? Near Sodom, near Egypt, Nineveh, or Media? Near Sodom, Genesis 13:12. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. 6. What animal deceived Eve in the garden? Serpent, turtle, crab, or owl? A serpent, Genesis 3:13. Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." 7. Which of David's men killed 800 men in an encounter? Eleazar, Josheb-Beth-Shebeth, Shamar, or Joab? Josheb-Bathsheba. 2 Samuel 23:8. These are the names of David's mighty men. Josheb-Bathshebeth, a Tekemonite, was chief of the three. He raised a spear against 800 men, whom he killed in one encounter. 8. Who dreamt of a ladder with angels going up and down? Moses, Jabez, Jacob, or Joshua? Jacob, Genesis 28:12. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching the heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. 9. Who was Noah's father? Enosh, Methuselah, Enoch, or Lamech? Lamech, Genesis 5:30. After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. 10. Whose name means the glory has departed from Israel? Jabez, Ichabod, Ishbosheth, or Mephibosheth? Ichabod, 1 Samuel 4:21. She named the boy Ichabod, saying, "The glory has departed from Israel because of the capture of the ark of God and the deaths of her father-in-law and her husband." 11. Who among these is not a son of David? Absalom, Amnon, Mephibosheth, or Adonijah? Mephibosheth. 2 Samuel 9:6. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, "Mephibosheth, your servant," he replied. 12. Which bird did Noah send out of the ark and return to him? Dove, crow, raven, or eagle? Dove. Genesis 8:11. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. 13. How many chapters does the book of Proverbs have? 30, 35, 29, or 31? 31. Proverbs has only 31 chapters. 14. When venomous snakes attacked the Israelites in the wilderness, what did Moses make? Bronze snake, silver lizard, golden bird, or wooden staff? Bronze snake. Numbers 21:9. So Moses made a bronze snake and put it up on a pole. Then when anyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, he lived. 15. Who was spared when Joshua destroyed Jericho? Rahab, Dorcas, Rachel, or Rebecca? Rahab. Joshua 6:25. But Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute with her family and all who belonged to her because she hid the men Joshua had sent as spies to Jericho, and she lives among the Israelites to this day. 16. How old was Sarah when she gave birth to Isaac? 30, 60, 95, or 90? 90. Genesis 17:17. Abraham fell face down. He laughed and said to himself, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? 17. What was Joshua's former name? Hosea, Araunah, Amram, or Phinehas? Hosea. Numbers 13:16. These are the names of the men Moses sent to explore the land. Moses gave Hosea, son of Nun, the name Joshua. 18. Which relative of Abraham lived near Sodom? Lot. Genesis 13:12. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. 19. Which of these was inside the Ark of the Covenant? Sand, oil, Moses' mantle, or Aaron's staff? Aaron's staff. Hebrews 9:4. Which had the golden altar of incense and the gold-covered Ark of the Covenant? This ark contained the gold jar of manna, Aaron's staff that had budded, and the stone tablets of the covenant. 20. How many days did the Israelite spies spend exploring Canaan? 10, 20, 7, or 40? 40. Numbers 13:25. At the end of 40 days, they returned from exploring the land. 21. Ezra was a priest. True. Ezra 7:12. Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, a teacher of the law of the God of heaven, greetings. 22. What did the Israelites call the bread God rained from heaven? Dough, pies, urim, or manna? Manna. Exodus 16:31. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. 23. Who was the first woman? Sarah, Eve, Dinah, or Hannah? Eve. Genesis 3:20. Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all the living. 24. How did God destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? Thunder and lightning, snakes, earthquake, or burning sulfur? Burning sulfur, Genesis 19:24. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. 25. Which prophet was referred to as the troubler of Israel? Ezekiel, Elijah, Elisha, or Jeremiah? Elijah, 1 Kings 18:17. When he saw Elijah, he said to him, "Is that you, you troubler of Israel?" 26. Who was named Jerubbaal? Gideon, Samson, Joshua, or Jabez? Gideon, Judges 6:32. So that day they called Gideon Jerubbaal, saying, "Let Baal contend with him, because he broke down Baal's altar." 27. How did God answer Elijah on Mount Carmel? By wind, rain, fire, or a loud voice? By fire. 1 Kings 18:38. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. 28. Which young virgin was brought in to keep King David warm? Ava, Tamar, Abishag, or Dinah? Abishag, 1 Kings 1:1-3. Then they searched throughout Israel for a beautiful girl and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. 29. Who are the two nurses that refused Pharaoh's order to kill the Hebrew children? Shiphrah and Puah. Exodus 1:15-19. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah. 30. Who opposed the answer to Daniel's prayer? Prince of Syria, Prince of Egypt, Prince of Arabia, or Prince of Persia? Prince of Persia, Daniel 10:13. But the prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me because I was detained there with the king of Persia. 31. What was the last plague God sent to Egypt? Gnats, hailstorm, death of firstborn, or darkness? Death of firstborn, Exodus 12:29-33. At midnight the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on the throne to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. 32. What sign did God give King Hezekiah that he had been healed? Sun stood still, shadow went forward, shadow went back, or a rooster crowing? Shadow went back. 2 Kings 20:11. Then the prophet Isaiah called upon the Lord, and the Lord made the shadow go back the 10 steps it had gone down on the stairway of Ahaz. 33. Who was Abraham's father? Terah, Jethro, Laban, or Melchizedek? Terah, Genesis 11:27. This is the account of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran, and Haran became the father of Lot. 34. Who were the sons of Eli? Hophni and Phinehas, Elijah and Elisha, Samuel and Isaac, or Reuel and Boaz? Hophni and Phinehas, 1 Samuel 4:4b. And Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the Ark of the Covenant of God. 35. Which of his sons did Jacob curse? Issachar, Dan, Gad, or Reuben? Reuben, Genesis 49, 3-4. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength, excelling in honor, excelling in power. Turbulent as the waters, you will no longer excel, for you went up onto your father's bed, onto my couch, and defiled it. 36. Who was made a prophet unto Moses? Pharaoh, Jethro, Amram, or Aaron? Aaron, Exodus 7:1. Then the Lord said to Moses, See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. 37. In what book can you find the 10 Commandments? Exodus, Genesis, Judges, or 1 Kings? Exodus 20, 1-17. And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. 38. What curse did Elisha place in Gehazi? Cancer, blindness, crippled legs, or leprosy? Leprosy. 2 Kings 5:27. Naaman's leprosy will cling to you and to your descendants forever. Then Gehazi went from Elisha's presence, and he was leprous as white as snow. 39. When the axe head fell into the river, what did Elisha throw into the river? Magnet, iron, rock, or stick? Stick. 2 Kings 6:6. The man of God asked, Where did it fall? When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there, and made the iron float. 40. What tribe of Israel is Moses descended from? Judah, Levi, Dan, or Gad? Levi, Exodus 2, 1-2. Now a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. 41. Elijah outran Ahab's chariot. True. 1 Kings 18:45. Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose, a heavy rain came on, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came upon Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. 42. Which of these rivers does not flow out of Eden? Tigris, Jordan, Euphrates, or Gihon? Jordan, Genesis 2:13-14. The name of the second river is the Gihon. It winds through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Asher. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. 43. Which of these was used to inquire from God? Black opal, emerald and ruby, golden diamond, or Urim and Thummim? Urim and Thummim. Exodus 28:30. Also put the Urim and the Thummim in the breastpiece, so they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus, Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelites over his heart before the Lord. 44. Who mocked King David for dancing before the people when the ark was being brought? Abigail, Bathsheba, Michal, or Tamar? Michal, 2 Samuel 6:16. As the ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. 45. Who was struck dead for holding the ark when the oxen stumbled? Uzzah, 2 Samuel 6:7. The Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. 46. Who did Queen Esther replace? Hadassah, Potiphera, Jezebel, or Vashti? Vashti. Esther 2:17. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. 47. Which tribe were dedicated to the service of God and the tabernacle? Levi, Judah, Ephraim, or Reuben? Levi. Numbers 18:21. I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance in return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting. 48. Who did Elijah send to Ahab to inform him of his presence? Amos, Obadiah, Elisha, or Jehu? Obadiah. 1 Kings 18:7-8. As Obadiah was walking along, Elijah met him. Obadiah recognized him, bowed down to the ground, and said, "Is it really you, my lord Elijah?" "Yes," he replied. "Go tell your master Elijah is here." 49. Who was Hosea's wife? Anna, Abigail, Gomer, or Dinah? Gomer. Hosea 1:3. So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. 50. Naboth was killed for not releasing his vineyard to Ahab. True. 1 Kings 21:15. As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, "Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, that he refused to sell you. He is no longer alive but dead." 51. Miriam gossiped about Moses because he married who? Assyrian, Persian, Philistine, or Cushite? Cushite. Numbers 12:1. Miriam and Aaron began to talk against Moses because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. 52. What day is circumcision done? 8th, 1st, 6th, or 7th? 8th. Leviticus 12:3. On the 8th day the boy is to be circumcised. 53. Which of these is the son of Noah? Levi, Nimrod, Shem, or Asher? Shem. Genesis 9:18. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. 54. What was the sign of the covenant between God and Abraham? Circumcision. Genesis 17:11. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. 55. In whose sack did Joseph put a silver cup? Asher, Reuben, Benjamin, or Judah? Benjamin. Genesis 44:12. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. 56. Which of these is not among the 7 things God hates? Sleep, lying tongue, haughty eyes, or false witness? Sleep. Proverbs 6:16-19. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. 57. When Elisha was told there was death in the pot, what did he tell them to put in the pot? Oil, sand, spices, or flour? flour. 2 Kings 4:41. Elisha said, "Get some flour." He put it into the pot and said, "Serve it to the people to eat," and there was nothing harmful in the pot. 58. Who is Moses' father-in-law? Noah, Jethro, Jehoshaphat, or Balak? Jethro, Exodus 18:1. Now Jethro, the priest of Midian and father-in-law of Moses, heard of everything God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, and how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. 59. What wood was the Ark of the Covenant made of? A gopher, cedar, pine, or acacia? Acacia, Exodus 25:10. Have them make a chest of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. 60. Who took his life because his counsel was not followed? Haman, Nathan, Ahithophel, or Adonijah? Ahithophel, 2 Samuel 17:23. When Ahithophel saw that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey and set out for his house in his hometown. He put his house in order and then hanged himself, so he died and was buried in the father's tomb. 61. Who did Abraham give a tithe of all? Terah, Melchizedek, Laban, or Lot? Melchizedek, Genesis 14:18. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was priest of God Most High. And blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. 62. Which prophet did God send to prophesy death to Hezekiah? Amos, Isaiah, Ezekiel, or Nathan? Isaiah, Isaiah 38:1. In those days Hezekiah became ill and was at the point of death. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, went to him and said, "This is what the Lord says, put your house in order, because you're going to die, you will not recover." 63. What did Daniel eat instead of defiling himself with the king's food? Unleavened bread, quail, pork, or vegetables? Vegetables. Daniel 1:12. Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. 64. What did the ravens bring to Elijah in the morning and evening? Yeast, locusts and honey, bread and meat, or cakes and milk? Bread and meat. 1 Kings 17:6. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning and the bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. 65. Who did God instruct to feed Elijah at Zarephath? The watchman, king, his wife, or a widow? A widow. 1 Kings 17:9. Go at once to Zarephath of Sidon and stay there. I have commanded a widow in that place to supply you with food. 66. What did Elijah wear? Goatskin, garment of hair, wool, or linen? Garment of hair. 2 Kings 1:8. They replied, he was a man with a garment of hair with a leather belt around his waist. The king said, that was Elijah the Tishbite. 67. Who did the 11 stars in Joseph's dream represent? His brothers, mother, father, or Egypt? His brothers. Genesis 37:10. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is the dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? 68. Whose wife turned into a pillar of salt? Jonah, Hosea, Lot, or Samson? Lot, Genesis 19:26. But Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. 69. What did Rahab tie in her window as a sign? Golden thread, her hair, her son, or scarlet cord? Scarlet cord, Genesis 2:18. Unless when we entered the land you have tied the scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you have brought your father and mother, your brothers, and all your family into your house. 70. How many angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah? 3, 2, 4, or 1? 2. Genesis 19:1. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. 71. How many chapters does the book of Psalms have? 100, 150, 200, or 250? 150. The book of Psalms has 150 chapters. 72. Who was Joseph's second son? Manasseh, Benjamin, Ephraim, or Amram? Ephraim. Genesis 41:52. The second son he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." 73. Esau traded his birthright for what? An estate, wife, children, or bread and stew? Bread and stew. Genesis 25:34. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. 74. What river did Elisha tell Naaman to dip in? Jordan, Pharpar, Gihon, or Tigris? Jordan. 2 Kings 5:14. So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him, and his flesh was restored and became clean like that of a young boy. 75. At what age did Joseph become prime minister of Egypt? 20, 30, 25, or 40? 30. Genesis 41:46. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and Joseph went out from Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout Egypt. 76. What bird did Noah send out of the ark the second time? An eagle, a kiwi, or a dove? Dove. Genesis 8:10. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. 77. Which of these spies brought a good report? Shaphat, Caleb, Egal, or Palti? Caleb. Numbers 13:30. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." 78. Who was Sarah's maid? Keturah, Leah, Hagar, or Peninnah? Hagar. Genesis 16:2. So she said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my maidservant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abram agreed to what Sarai said. 79. Whose twins fought in her womb? Hannah, Deborah, Rebecca, or Ruth? Rebecca. Genesis 25:22. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. 80. Which prophet decreed a drought for 3 years? Elijah, Elisha, Nehemiah, or Samuel? Elijah, 1 Kings 17:1. Now Elijah the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. And that's all our questions that we have today. So again, let us know how you did down below and share this with your friends and family to compare your scores, and we'll see you in the next one.